Welcome to the Deli Dixon channel. If you haven't guessed from the opening theme, 1984, I'll be talking about the Transformers animated show or TV series, a little bit of the movie, and some ancillary products. This is a show that I really got into. When you think about the time it came out, I'm about 13. It ran for 3 years with a movie in between, which at the time blew my mind. It was a really unique, for me at the time, toy where there was a process of figuring things out. I was big into models when I was younger. I really loved the Universal monsters. You put them together. Some you had to paint. I was into the cars, boats, planes. The big thing was always getting me a model on Christmas and my birthday when I was younger. And the Transformers were a toy that you could figure out how to transform them from robot to vehicle form, or depending on forms, it could be a plane. Or they came up with so many; it's insane over the years. The cartoon was really well acted. The voice acting, if it wasn't the deepest and most straightforward of plots as a kid, it was captivating to me. Thinking about two warring factions leaving a planet, searching for new fuel for their war, crashing, and millions of years later, they get activated, interact with the human race. And you've got Optimus Prime, who Peter Cullen, just a fabulous voice actor all around, great work. You'd be surprised when you look at some of the voice acting on the show, and you'd be like, "Oh, I know that guy," and you recognize these voices. Now, the show had basically 2 seasons. The way they made the cartoons back in the day, it's just weird. It was a mini series of three, which was a little bit before they leave Cybertron. Then it was 13 episodes the first season, 49 episodes the second season, and then it was the feature film. Now, going back to my youth, trying to remember what all these crazy aspects that I loved about the show, I don't remember it being deep on continuing storylines, although there were two-parters here and there. Uh, there was no real progression to the story looking back on it or revisiting it over and over. There's just some fun stuff with great portrayals on both sides. The good versus evil, and all these crazy plots and twists they come up with. And it wasn't, too deep or too hard, pulling on your heartstrings here and there. But then the movie came out in '86, Transformers the movie, and they got a really cool rock song to adapt the show theme. It was real deep on a lot of levels, and there was spoilers, a death of one of the most beloved characters ever, and the transition of new leadership and new adventures, which continued in the third season, which was 30 episodes, and then the fourth season was like three. And there's a whole bunch of craziness behind the scenes on how it first started as this company making the toys, and there were lawsuits here and there, characters that had to be changed, their names. They went back and edited like first season. It's I don't. That's not what I remember growing up, but over the years, I've kept up with it. I've loved the Transformers as a franchise, and even though the movies kind of fuck things up. It's so ugh. Although Bumblebee gave me some hope. Seeing the Transformers from the TV show, almost identical adaptation, kind of captivated me again. The story and stuff, it was fun. It was alright. So the movie comes. It's you witness the death of your one of your favorite characters. Blows your mind as a kid. Oh man, like 15 years old. And every Christmas or every time I have money, I would put a certain portion where I would go and get a Transformer. I had so many. And they were like die-cast metal. They were really solid pieces. After a while, it became a little crazy, but they were a big part of my childhood. Just the imagination, watching the show. I think I even had the follow the story. You put the record on. At the time, G.I. Joe became big. A lot of other shows, and Hasbro with the toy line. It was, you know, a method to that madness of putting things out and capitalizing on toys and figures and their vehicles, and you could transform them into robots. It was like endless imagination, just so many ways to do it. And then the movie comes and really hits home with some serious themes. It treats it seriously. It's To me, it's an amazing movie. I love it. The follow-up seasons with the new leadership were fascinating to me. I thought they did it brilliantly. You made another character lovable, and the ancillary characters, you fleshed them out and made them really popular, which I didn't think was possible. Because they show some really insane deaths in that. But it being so popular, you bring Optimus Prime back, and that was the certain episodes of the third season or Generation 2. And I remember it being weird. It was kind of, what are they doing? And some of the dolls and the toys were like, like you'd repaint certain things, and Ultra Magnus was basically Optimus, but you put him into his car carrying cage, and he became Ultra Magnus. But if you had him separate, it's just a white painted Optimus, and Optimus was red. Over the years, I would look back on it, and you find little things like the headmasters and certain iterations that weren't aired in certain countries, and you find they kind of retcon the bringing back Optimus and do a little bit of this is what really happened, and he comes back to save everybody from a rust plague, and then they kind of meander. It's so you could tell there's like a shift in who controls the show and what's being produced. It didn't feel like real closure, and this is still going with every visit to the store was seeing which one they had. I'd go to Kings Highway, Avenue U, City of Bargains. Did they have the newest one? You know, certain crews that had characters that were always the same. They were beloved, and you really got them fleshed out in certain episodes. I don't feel that when looking back at He-Man and other shows like that. Although I do look back and appreciate more maybe Thundercats. Uh, but even like Thunder the Barbarian, I love revisiting that. But the Transformers had a unique way of giving personality to these sentient robots, and when you have voice acting like Peter Cullen and many others, it just makes it even better. And over the years, Transformers has changed continuity through comic books, different company comic books, different toy lines, to web series now. Or actually, they did progress from web series, but there were tons of cartoons over the years. Some I might do a podcast on. For instance, one of my favorites is Beast Wars, and the continuation was Beast Machines. Fabulous. I just love it. Really cool storylines that are continuations, is through lines and plots that you're waiting to see revealed. It's awesome in my opinion. And there are some more generated for kids, Robots in Disguise, and now it's got a little bit of a resurgence. And let's not talk about all the toy cons and fan fiction, lunchboxes. I mean, this is just something that has never really died down. And a web series was put out in conjunction with like some video games, I think. And they really got popular and they were really good. Now, currently, I think second season of The War for Cybertron was released. And I'm finding them really good, revisiting the characters, some of the portions of the video game kind of, there's a trilogy. There's a trilogy to the web series too. I think it's Machinima did them. The Prime Wars. Now, going a little bit into the movies, I really kind of was just happy the first movie was made, but it was so jarring and I didn't associate it with the characters that much. It was too busy and just not for me. And then it got progressively worse. I mean, I might throw it on and kind of enjoy it, but it's just going to be fun stuff that I'm going to not really pay attention to and not so invested in. Then they kind of tricked me with, it's the first one with Mark Wahlberg, and he finds Optimus all messed up and rusted, but he's the old uh, trailer vehicle form from the original series, not this new flames on it, kind of different body type. And for a good, like, I don't know, 7 or 11 minutes, he's rusty and stuff, but he's got that form, and I'm like, oh yeah, and then as soon as he gets on the road, puts him in, and then he changes back into a brand new flame-covered one. I was like, oh, you know what, fuck you. However, as I briefly touched on, Bumblebee was actually fun and really stuck to the original series. It starts with a or a flashback, I guess, with the war on Cybertron, and it's awesome. Every second of it is childhood wonder. It's amazing. You see how Bumblebee is sent to Earth, and then the art story happens, and you're like, okay, it's all right. I think John Cena goes overboard with the character, but it's very cartoonish, so I'll give it that. And in the middle of it, when you give another flashback, sort of, you pay homage to the original tractor trailer at the end. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I would be interested in more of these, because seeing the colors, the flat angles, the boxiness is, to me, what I touched and felt is tactile. It's, even though, like I said, they went from die-cast to a light plastic, or, it depends on the iteration of the toy, right? You can get like the high-end toys, so on and so forth. So these busy things that kind of look too metallic and you can't really tell the distinction. Although rewatching the movies, I will say they did make an effort to start colorizing them and giving them the characteristics they had somewhat in the cartoon. Still too busy, and all the Decepticons look the same. And the stories are kind of, weak in my opinion. Voice acting, pretty good. Special effects are probably solid all across the board. That's really where my interest is in the movies. Like I said, I'll take the Bumblebee version. But I'm looking at using the Transformers again in my role playing, connecting them to the superhero universe I role play. I'm the game master of. And it's been giving me incentive to go deep dive in all the comic book storylines. There are so many continuity, multiversal aspects of things, new things they brought in. You can go really deep into this lore. It's really encompassing and it's fleshed out, and it can get crazy here and there. But I could see fans still being made from this original creation from 1984. Even if you want to say that the toy line Diaclone or whatever started first. The theme song, the idea of robots in disguise, they're hidden on Earth, they gotta connect with the humans, Optimus's leadership, his courage, his voice of all sentient life should be free, and that he won't abuse the humans. I mean, the movies I think kind of shit on that a little bit, but whatever. It's still a joyhood wonder, one I'm using in my role playing. I'm really interested in the war for Cybertron. There's some really good art, and the story is really. I complain about like shows like Archer, although I love it. It's so short. It's over in such a. It's so good. It feels like it's only 7 minutes long, and some of the web series were like that because they were 7 to 11 minutes long. But now that Netflix is doing it, it's like a 22-minute before the credits come on, I think. But really well done. I wouldn't say this is a review in the sense of, hey, you know what, go get the toys or even watch the fucking movies. But I think it was a real good part of learning. It was not just a toy you just imagine shooting rockets out of, which is awesome. But there were times where you looked at the instructions and said, you know what, no, I could figure this out. And then some of them you had to use the instructions because they were intricate, and you had to, figure out how to turn this car into a robot that holds a weapon. So I think there's that aspect to it that, like I said before, that tactileness to the toys, the interaction on how well they made the characters, why it's so beloved to me, and especially the time it was out. You go through a lot. I think at that time my grandfather had passed away. One of my first and longest memory of a dog I had passed away. And you're looking for things, and I'm learning guitar. And there are certain times you zone, and I focus my mind and going to the store and getting Transformers, figuring them out, playing, and imagine my imagination was a wonderful time in my life. I'm so happy, you know, besides getting models, people catch on, I would get Transformers for Christmas gifts. And every once in a while, I pick one up. I just do. I mean, all right, it's been a while. I've been in the shitter, especially now with the fucking COVID, losing the job and doing part-time work. I still break them out. I still look at them. I had a friend tell me, it was like, what are you doing? I was like, I was positioning the Transformers. It fuels my imagination, and usually gives me a good starting point to go do some writing or something like that. And he's like, yeah, bullshit, you don't play with the toys. I was like, no, dude. I do put them out once in a while. I do try to recapture that feeling of being a child and just being pure imagination. I'm big into that and using the brain and the mind into meditation and certain tools and techniques to help with cognitive functions. And I am just such a big fan. I wish Transformers was being done better with certain live action movie aspect, but the cartoons, they seem to be really on track again. Like I said, there were some kid iterations and some that were like too manga for me. But there's still a deep love and appreciation for it, what it was from my childhood and what it could possibly be in the future. So that's really it. My thoughts on it. I think it's a great toys for children, although I don't have any. And I don't know if that's a good recommendation. Like, hey, you know what? Pothead, fucking wise ass, just telling people, hey, you know what? I think it's great. I think there's good themes in it, real solid connections to characters, the progression to the movie, and the continuation, and then getting into the lore. I think it's great. More power to what's coming, I hope. I'll check out for Cybertron Season 2. Maybe I'll do a podcast on it. All right, everybody. My best to you and yours. Hope you had a great holiday. Take care.